Thank you for joining us for Activity 2.1C, Paper Butterflies. For this one, we want to use markers to color our butterfly wings, and we use the markers as a starting color, and then we will take additional colors with color pencil and even crayon to start to put in some additional rich flavor to the butterfly wings. Now, one thing we want to do is make sure that we color symmetrically, but other than that, we can be as creative as we want to be. It is important to put your marker down first, because if you put down your crayon or your colored pencil first, because the component that holds the pigment together in crayons and colored pencils is a waxy material, the marker doesn't lay down on top of it very well, and you can even clog up the tip of your marker, making it unusable later. So you want to make sure that you put down your marker first and let that dry, and then put your crayon and colored pencil on top. One of the things that I think makes it a little easier is to start with lighter marker colors like the yellows and maybe spring greens or pinks, things like that. It can be a little bit more challenging if you start with a darker marker color like purple or blue, and then try to lighten it up with crayons. So that's just one thing I've noticed, although on this one I thought this was going to be a pink and it became sort of this rosy reddish pink, which ended up being nice, but I kind of had to use it in a reverse method, meaning I used this as the darkened portion, and then I came back with a lighter colored pencil to go out to the wings. So you just, play with it, have some fun, figure out what works best for you. But I felt like the lighter markers kind of worked a little bit better, and I could put darker colored pencil and crayon on top, and just felt like it was a little bit better color combo, a little bit easier to achieve a nice smooth transition from one to the other. And now I'm coming back with a darker blue violet or blue, I'm not sure exactly which one, and trying to go back on top of the marker. It shows up a little bit, but not as much as I had hoped it would. Now again with the orange, I'm trying basically a very similar color pattern that I did with the larger butterfly at the beginning, but again trying to apply the darker marker first and then coming back with the lighter colors on top. And again, I found this a little bit less effective at accomplishing a smooth transition from one color to the next. So just something to be aware of. If you're wanting a nice smooth transition, I would start with the lighter marker color underneath and then allow the darker uh, color pencil and crayons to sit on top. At any rate, when you get done coloring your butterflies, it's time to cut them out. And there are some tricks to doing this, especially for some of the younger students. Uh, when we get to cutting, there are a couple of techniques I like to use. One is to cut out each butterfly with some excess paper around it. So you kind of are getting it separated from the big page as a whole. I think that makes it a little bit easier to negotiate the turning and manipulating the scissors to get into the smaller spaces and cut cleanly without accidentally trimming off the head or one of the wings, which even if that happens, it's not the biggest deal because you can fix all of that when you glue them down to the background. But students tend to feel a little bit more successful if they haven't clipped the wing off or clipped the head off. So it's a good idea to give them the best chance at doing it without the need of repairs. And I'm cutting pretty close here. Obviously the butterflies are pretty close to one another, so I just go ahead and trim really close to the wing. And then I just knock out a big chunk of this to separate that butterfly from all of the scrap that I won't be needing. And here where we go in between the wing and the body, I highly recommend making two cuts in rather than one cut where you go in and then try to turn and go back out of the cut. So I just think I find it a little bit easier to control. And sometimes when you go into a small space like that and turn back around or rotate the paper, it's easy to tear it. Of course, another solution for this could be to print these on cardstock, which I've done before, but the wings don't seem quite as butterfly-esque when they're on the cardstock. They are a little more substantial though, so it's got a nice sturdy feel to it. So it's just personal preference and what you have on hand to be able to do the project. But regular old printer paper is what we used for this one, and it works out great. The final result looks amazing. Again, I'm using that same technique where I cut in from two directions to get into those small spaces. Very easy to cut the head off if you're not focused on what you're doing. I actually did that when I was trying to help a student. I was trying to answer multiple questions coming at me at the same time and cut out somebody's butterfly, and I accidentally trimmed the head right off. So we repaired it with glue, no problem. You couldn't even tell on the final, but it's one of those projects where it helps to be pretty focused on what you're doing. It is good to trim right up to the black, even trim off a little bit of the black instead of leaving the white space. The white around the edge really stands out and takes away from the feeling of a realistic butterfly. So that's one of the things where it's super helpful to cut in nice and close to the butterflies. Also, we just go ahead and cut off the antennas because it's so difficult to trim around them, and it's really easy to come back after we've glued down our butterflies and just draw antennas back in. You can use a really thin black marker or a black colored pencil. Both work very well and do the trick. Another teaching point that sometimes helps students is recognizing where the paper is sitting on the edge of the scissors. And sort of there's a happy medium where the cutting works really well with the scissors. When you get too close to the tip of the blade, it tend to snap on the paper and can sometimes tear it. And if you get too close to the hinge, sometimes you just cut much more quickly than you intend to. So there's kind of this sweet spot there um, that gives you a good amount of control and also makes a nice clean cut. So just something to mention for the students that seem to be snipping at it with the tips of their scissors. Always good to coach and help them understand where along that blade the paper should be getting cut for the best result. All right, we're on our final butterfly cutting out here. And if any point this is going too fast, of course, you can pause it and replay sections. But all of this is pretty self-explanatory. All right, there you go. All three butterflies cut out, and just throw our scraps away. And we want to get a good color for our background. So we cut out construction paper 10.5 inches by 6 inches, and then we can glue this onto our background paper. Make sure you get plenty of glue on this background paper. And also, it's always a good idea to put the glue on the smaller piece of paper. That just helps you not put glue where you don't need it. And then the rectangle lines up pretty well with our 10.5 by 6 inch piece of construction paper. And then it's time to glue our butterflies down. Now, when we're doing this, we want to make sure we don't get glue too far out on the wings, but we also don't want to do just the body. If you do, there's a high likelihood that the wings will rip off. So we want to put glue on the entire body, and then also get some on the wings right where they meet up with the body. Press that down and continue on. Find a placement for each butterfly that works well as a composition and looks good together, and then glue them down. All right, put them down like that. They're looking pretty good. Want to make sure the glue has a chance to set a little bit, and then we can fold the wings up gently. You don't want to crease them too much, but you get a really nice effect by bending them up. It causes a little bit of a drop shadow underneath the wings, which really allows them to appear to jump off the page, which is really, really nice. When you get done with this, there's only one more step to go. We want to get our antennas back on there. So in this example, I'm using a very thin permanent black marker and coming back and drawing those in. Again, you can also use a black colored pencil. I find it helps to draw a dot out at the very tip of the antenna and then bring my line back in. That just helps me to kind of taper the line as it comes back to the head and gives it a little bit nicer feel. This is one of second grade's favorite activities. I hope you liked it as well, and thank you for joining us. Have a great day.